Welcome to Beerstories from Beerstory Brewhouse. This video is about when the yeast is done fermenting. If you don't want to miss any videos from Beerstories, please click like and subscribe down in the corner. You'll help out the channel, you'll get the newest videos directly in your YouTube feed, and you'll make me very happy. Also find me on Facebook and Instagram. Well, one of the questions I get the most and I see on most on Facebook and Reddit and so on is when is my beer done fermenting? And that's a really simple question, but it's not quite that simple an answer. But kind of a rule of thumb, if there are a couple of minutes between the bubbles in your airlock, well, then your beer has reached the final gravity. But that doesn't mean that it's done. It's done fermenting, but it's not done doing its work. So you have to take that in account. But just looking at the airlock is not that certain method. But if you use a hydrometer to measure the gravity, you should take three gravity measures that are the same. 3 days of the same gravity. Then it's done fermenting. You can also use a refractometer if you adjust for the alcohol. What I use is a floating Wi-Fi hydrometer, so I get all the information on my phone. I like that, it's just easier. So that's one rule. If you have three measurements over 3 days with the same gravity, you have reached your final gravity. But again, that only means that the yeast is done fermenting the beer, but the yeast haven't finished its job. Because during the fermentation, the yeast actually makes a lot of off flavors and it has to clean that up afterwards. If you want to know more about this, I have a video down in the description where I'm digging into this subject even more. But you have to let the yeast clean up afterwards. Diacetyl is an off flavor that kind of tastes like butter, and the yeast creates that in the beginning. And when it's done fermenting, it can't eat any more sugar. It wants to eat something else, and it will eat up the diacetyl as well. But the rule of thumb here is, if you have an active fermentation of 5 days, it would take at least 5 to 7 days for the yeast afterwards to clean up after itself. If you raise up the temperature in this diacetyl rest, it's called a diacetyl rest afterwards, if you raise the temperature, you can see more about this in the video that I mentioned before. If you raise the temperature, you can go 1 to 1. So 5 days of fermentation, 5 days of diacetyl rest. If you don't raise the temperature, you have to wait at least 7 days. And this is really important because otherwise you will get butter flavors in your beer. So what you need to take out of this is most beer, you can ferment a beer in 2 days if you want. With the Kveik yeast or verdant IPA is really fast as well. SO4 is really fast as well. So you might be able to ferment a beer in 2 to 3 days, and then you only have to wait 5 to 6 days more, and then you can actually ferment a beer completely in 10 days. But you don't have to hurry. If you think about leaving your beer for 14 days, that will be great for just almost any beer. And nothing happens by leaving the beer in the fermenter for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, even 2 months. The beer will be just fine. The problem is bottling the beer too soon. That will give you off flavors. So leave the beer alone for 14 days. Let it do its work. Make sure everything is the yeast is done fermenting, and the yeast is done creating a diacetyl rest, eating up all the off flavors again. So leave it alone for 14 days. That's one thing you should take out of this. If you know your yeast, if you do all your measurements, you can make it shorter. Just remember, if you have like 3 days of fermentation, you have to go at least 5 days of diacetyl rest. So you have to, if you raise the temperature, you can go 1-to-1. That's important as well. So yeah, measure, or just look at the airlock, or just leave it for 14 days, even 3 weeks just to be sure. That's what you should take out of this. Yeah, so remember to click like and subscribe down in the corner here. And also, if you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, you can just write down in the comments if you have any questions here. Or on my website, beerstories.dk, you can find contact info on me there. So yeah, have a happy brewing out there.